Hello there. It's week three for public speaking, and this week we've got a lot of work to do. Really do. We've got three areas that you're going to cover from the textbook, and you have a fairly big assignment. So, first off is outlining and organizing. There are ways of out or organizing speeches to achieve certain goals. In some instances, you'll want to use a particular organizing pattern for persuasion that works really well. And persuasion doesn't work so well for informative speeches. Other patterns work really well for informative speeches, don't necessarily work well for persuasive speeches. So we'll look at organizational patterns. We'll look at outlining. And outlining, of course, you've done outlining before. You've done it for essays and papers and that kind of thing. You'll do it for speeches as well. We'll do two different kinds of outlines, speaking outline and a prep outline. And the speaking outline is the one you use while you're talking. So your note cards, or some people use their phone or a tablet or whatever. It's bare, basic bones notes to remind you of the points you want to talk about in the order you want to talk about, and just barely enough there to remind you of what you're talking about. So you don't have your whole script in front of you. You don't have everything. You're practiced enough that you kind of know the speech, and you've got a few outline points there. The other outline, the prep outline, has everything. Now, it's not a script, it's an outline, and there's a format for it. You'll see it in the text. Um, you want to use that to create your speech, to make sure you have all the parts there. You have all of your resources listed, and everything that you ever want to do to show you how to build that speech is in that prep outline. Where it's beneficial is down the road, maybe a year from now, you'll have to give the same type of a speech, and you've got the core, everything right there, and you can adapt it for your new audience. I've actually done that with lectures for courses where I know the outline, and I might not teach a course for 2 years and go back in to teach it again. And I can pull up my outline and everything's there. And I can go right into each one of my lectures. I have all my lectures are done that way, actually. So it's a pretty useful tool to have, particularly if you're going to find yourself, like if you're in sales, marketing, something like that, where you're going to be talking about the same subject to multiple clients, multiple audiences. That outline comes in really handy. And it's not a script. A script is word for word what you're going to say. You never want to do that because you're not going to remember everything exactly the way you want to. And as soon as you realize you've messed up, you've got to find your spot. And in a script, it's very hard to find where your spot is, and it takes a lot of time. So, outlines. Um, so that's one subject. The second subject is introductions and conclusions. People focus on the middle part of the speech, the bread and butter of the speech, and they don't put too much emphasis on introductions and especially on conclusions. A lot of speeches will end with just, oh, and that's what I've got to say today. And that's their whole conclusion. Your introduction is your chance to get your audience interested in what you're talking about, preview what you're going to say, give them the idea of the main points, tell them why you're a credible person to listen to on that particular subject. All of that kind of stuff comes up in the introduction, as well as um, maybe an element or two. A story works really well to draw them in and get them interested. And once you get them interested, then you can tell them what you want to tell them. If you've got a boring intro, people won't make it past the intro. You've wasted your time. And then the conclusion has some elements that need to be in it. And you want to make sure they're all in it, because your conclusion is your last chance to get your point across. In persuasion, it's your last chance to get your appeal. And you want to end with something memorable. You want to repeat or kind of remind them what you talked about, give them something memorable so that later on they might go, oh, yeah, there was that ending on that speech. What was that about? And then they remember everything else. So, another important element of speech making. And then the third area we're going to cover is supporting your ideas. You're picking out your topics and you're picking out things that hopefully you know well and that you understand. But at the same time, you want to have other support. You want to go out and find research that on your topic that says the same thing yours does, and it reinforces the idea. Excuse me. It reinforces the idea. And when you have an idea that you're trying to get across, your opinions and your experience and stuff matters, but when you can supply additional resources that support that same thing, it really strengthens your argument, and people are more inclined to go with it. So how do you support how to cite your sources in a speech? It's similar to what you do in an essay, but of course you don't do it quite like that. And then also learning how to filter out the good from the bad, because most people, let's face it, they're going to go to the internet, they're going to Google whatever it is they're talking about, and they're going to go from there. The internet is not all factual. There are problems in the internet. There are incorrect information. There's all kinds of things. So how do you weed that out? And that's what's going to get looked at. There's three key elements you want to look for in sources. If you don't have one of those three, I always say don't use it. If you have one of those three, or all three of those, I mean, then you've probably got a fairly sound resource, but still keep looking. There's other places you can go. Google Scholar is a great place to get reliable information because it weeds out all of the, people that created a blog on a topic they think they know about and they made up a bunch of stuff, or they put their opinions out without any support. You don't want to quote that stuff when you're giving your speech. Google Scholar clears that stuff out, and there's some other good sources there as well. So that's the stuff you're going to do from a reading in the textbook point, but then also you've got your process speech this week. So by Wednesday, you want to have your outline submitted. I go through them and see if there's anything I see red flags before you give your speech. And then your process speech by the end of the week. Make sure you follow the instructions. Make sure that you submit it the way the instructions say. We had a lot of submissions in the last speech that didn't meet the criteria. I can't see them because all it is a file, or it doesn't go anywhere. Some people put in their outline and didn't put the speech up. Go back and check and make sure that what you've submitted is right and meets the criteria so I can grade it. And we'll go from there. All right. If you got any questions, send me an email. And I'm going to start trying to do some grading because this is Monday. We've had, as you all know, a huge snowstorm come in. I've got 13 inches of snow on my property. I got my driveway cleared out, but the street hasn't been cleared out yet, so I can't go anywhere. So I'm going to start doing some grading and stuff. Hope you stay warm, and I'm looking forward to your speeches. I'll see you later.